Now let's talk about the deployment. Now deployment is a very simple process. Ideally, during the build process, whatever the artifact we have generated, somehow we have to deploy it. We have to host those up there, because if we are not going to deploy those stuff, we will not be having our applications up and running. Also, we are not going to host these application source codes on these environments, because again, when you're going for these source codes as such, so it's like something which is going to cause a real trouble. So you should be having the source code deployed in the form of artifacts, and that's where the build process is required, or the continuous integration process is required. But after the build is done, after we get the artifact, so what is happening is that we need to deploy these artifacts onto a specific environment. That's one thing which we are trying to look upon over here in this case, and that's where the overall issues or the benefits we will be getting up here. Now when it comes to the deployment, it doesn't means like the deployment is only there for a new software. There is a lot of times we have to do some patches to an existing software also, to an existing software also. We wanted to feel like if we want to deploy, we can get it deployed there. So it depends on the requirement to requirement, that if we really wanted to get along or we wanted to have that functionality. But yes, all these features we are trying to understand, that if these deployments are something which is helping us to overview and get us all the different requirements in place there. So deployment is something which helps us to have our application source code compiled and generated in the form of artifacts, and then get deployed into a specific one environment or multiple environments in that case. Every software or every programming language follow its own way of doing the deployment. Some tools are getting deployment on Tomcat Apache. Some applications gets deployed onto a web server's application server. Almost every programming languages are having their own web servers and application servers there. So when it comes to the deployment, so we may be having a multiple environment. So test environment, the staging environment, the production environment. There are a lot of environments which is pretty much available there, and we just wanted to do the deployments to there. So usually we go for the very standard promotion based deploys, which means like if the application is working in test environment, then only we are going for the staging environment, and if it's working over there, then only we will go for the production environment. So that's the way that how we are going to perform the deployment. The way that how you are trying to do the deployment, that is also something which is of three types: manual deploys, automated deploys, continuous deploys. Manual deploys is pretty clear. Like you have a manual process, you will be logging to a server, doing the deployment manually, taking up the application source code, whatever the artifacts you have got, deploying it to one environment or multiple environments. Now as part of the manual process, you need to execute each and every step manually, and in that case there is always a scope of failure or human error, because sometimes you may forget some steps, some mistakes are there. And in some cases, if you have such a huge amount of infrastructure, like there are a lot of servers or machines are available there, then it's going to be very difficult for you again, because automations will help you to do it into a less time, but manual or the manual deploys will take a huge amount of time there, and it's practically impossible for a single person to log into multiple servers and do the deploys without even coming up with any kind of issue or any kind of human error or any kind of mistake there. Now on the other hand, automated deploys is something which is very streamlined, because when it comes to the automated deployment, so the deployments will be done with the help of either scripts, any kind of automated plugins, tools, or depending on schedule. Automated deployments, not only because we can automate it with the scripts, we can even change that how these scripts also gets triggered. We can include the feature like scheduling, that okay, I want to schedule my deploys on so and so duration of time, so that also you can do it. Script automation will definitely help you, because you don't have to do the steps, each and every steps one by one. Further on, if you have an orchestration tool, then you don't even have to trigger the deploys across all the servers. You can automate that also. So there are different level of automations which you can achieve. But one thing is common, that you don't have to put any efforts on the manual triggers of those deploys. Now these automated deploys will definitely remove the human efforts, And with that, the scope of human error is also gone there. But yes, the sequence is very much important. The person who is designing or developing this script should be aware of like how a manual deploy should happen, because then only they will be able to convert these manual steps or procedure into the automated procedure there. And again, the automated deployments can be done for a first time deploy, or can be done for the regular patches or the frequent deploys or releases also. So in both the situation, the automated deploys can be done. Also, we can use these automated deploys with the Jenkins kind of a tools there, or any other orchestration tool, so that we don't even have to trigger these things manually. It can be handled up automatically there. Now, a classic example, I mean, even not going to the programming languages or to that particular area, if we want to understand into a daily to daily activities, the classic example of automated deploys is Windows Update, because as you can see that it's getting deployed on each and every person machines, and you don't have to worry about, or you don't have to do any kind of manual efforts onto your local machine in order to do that. It will directly connect, it will fetch the updates, it will install it also, and yes, definitely it will ask for the reboot for you, but that also we can automate, that it can go for an automated reports. So these are the classic examples of having an automated deployments, where we are deploying the source code or new features on the system without any human trigger. So this is how the high level of architecture of automated deploy looks like. As you can see here that we have like a centralized server where we have all the other machines connected. This could be any server, this could be any tool like Ansible, Chef, Puppet, Jenkins. They all triggering the deploys across multiple machines, multiple servers there. Now the benefit for this one is that you don't have to trigger the deploys manually on each and every server. So even if future you are having like 10-20 servers more coming up over here, they all will be integrated with these things, and you will be able to get the automated deploys. So that's a main benefit which you're going to get with these automated deploys here. So you don't have to do any kind of human interruption over here. Now Jenkins is something which is not only there for the build automation, but for deployment automation also it can take care of the stuff. It's a CI/CD pipeline automation which we can achieve over here in this one. Now there are so many plugins which is available for the deployment, using which you can do the deployment there. Now deployment can be done to a Tomcat Apache, can be done in the form of Docker, can be done to Kubernetes. There are so many scope, there are so many tools which is available there, where you can do the deployment, and you can perform the automation there. And keeping in mind that only we have the different plugins available there. Now what is the difference between the automated deploys and continuous deployment? Of course, in continuous deployment we are looking forward for the automated deploys here, but there is a change, there is a twist here. Now continuous deployment is much better process as compared to just automated deploy here, because in case of continuous deployment we are talking about frequent deploys. Like the moment we are done with the source code development, we wanted to do the deployment to a production environment. So that kind of deployment is what we are talking about in the continuous deployment. So automated deployment doesn't mean that we can always do it with the Jenkins. We have different ways. We can have it script based deploys. We can have any other tools also integrated to perform the automated deploys. But when it comes to the continuous deployment, so it's something which we are talking about from the Jenkins pipeline perspective. So continuous deployment is also a way of doing the automated deploys, but it's something which gets frequently executed, which means like the moment a developer is done with the changes, so immediately it will be triggered there. So that's the main benefit of continuous, because there is a keyword continuous deployment, which means continuously we have to keep on delivering the stuff. It's not a one-time activity which we are trying to look upon over here. In the continuous deployment, every time, because this is something which is derived on the basis of commit, so every time a developer commits or performs a new commits over here, so what will happen that it will be going up into the version control system, and then from there the automated builds, the deploys and the test cases, everything will be triggered, and we will be able to get the desired output. Now under the continuous deployment, you want to deploy to one environment, you want to deploy two environments, or you want to deploy three environments. It's just a matter of selection that what different environments you wanted to support. But pretty much we need to have the automation in such a way that so that we will be able to have the setup done to all the environments. So that's one thing which we are trying to look upon here. So whether it's a exe file, jar file, war file, or er file, so that's a deployment mechanism you need to consider. But once the deployment is done, so you will be able to have the complete life cycle event of the source code achieved over here in this one. So that's the main benefit which we are going to get with the continuous deployment here.